denying restitution for the victims of the Black Wall Street, the Greenwood white nationalist riots of a little over 100 years ago. We'll unpack that, look at some of the Supreme Court extremities, extreme positions, and whatever other questions, conversation you have. That's what we'll do. Got special guests in studio. Hour one, we like to get some perspective on things that are going on here in Southern California and California in general. And our situation inside the prison system has been a problem, a challenge for a long, long time. It's a situation where, the voters keep saying one thing and the reality keeps being another. And so where do we go from here? And this continues to be something we hear about, read about in the news, but whether or not you have personal information on what's really going on, well, that's another kind of conversation. We're being joined this morning by an LA-based abolitionist, feminist organizer, and creative from Houston, Texas. She's a member of the group Dignity and Power Now, leading media communications for the Justice LA Coalition, and a Justice LA media coordinator. Janet Asante, welcome.
Thank you so much for having me.
Yeah, thanks for being here. It's confusing. It's a lot of information. It's like a constant barrage. And I know that there's a mix of public perception, public will, and sort of the aspirational conversation coming from nonprofits, from community-based organizations and community members. And then there's the reality that we're actually stuck with. And so I want to hear, where you think we are now. But first, explain what Dignity and Power Now is.
Absolutely. So Dignity and Power Now is a community-based organization which fights for the dignity and power for formerly incarcerated, currently incarcerated people and their family members, people who have been affected by police violence and the system itself. And so this community-based group is a part of the coalition called Justice LA, which was formed by a number of organizations and individuals, all pushing for the same thing, Measure J, which was passed in 2020, along with the closure of Men's Central Jail. And at the time, the closure of the Men's Central Jail expansion contract, which had already been signed by the county, and that was officially shut down by the coalition.
Right, that was part of all of the, public will, the activism, the organizing around Measure R, around Measure J, and that idea of a care-first community.
Exactly.
We'll get a little deeper into that. I'm also being joined by another community organizer who's spent time working to exonerate incarcerated people with the Texas Innocence. No, that's not. I'm sorry, that's not you. But I'm actually really excited to have you in studio, even though it's early, and appreciate you coming in. She's the mother of Kamren Lee Nettles, who was the 15th person to die in LA Sheriff's Department custody this year. He died on May 13th in the Men's Central Jail, which is the facility we were just talking about, that the community has been calling for it to be shut down. Tennel Crook, good morning.
Good morning.
Thank you for coming in.
Thank you for having me.
I see, for those watching on YouTube, KBLA 1580, you're paying tribute to your son.
Oh, yeah, my shirt.
Thank
you.
Yeah. So tell me what happened of what you know, because sometimes it's hard to get all the information right.
Well, so far what I know, to start, I didn't get informed about my son's death to May the 13th, like at 11:14 a.m. I was working, and I was notified by the detectives, not by the jail, that my son was found in his cell unresponsive. And I'm still waiting on an autopsy for the cause of death.
You're talking about the autopsy that's done by the coroner's department or an independent one?
I'm having both done. I'm having a independent one and one done, from the jail.
Yeah. First of all, let me just say that I'm so sorry. That's just like the worst imaginable thing, right? Your
Yes.
child.
Worst ever.
Yeah, I'm really sorry about that.
Thank you.
Um, so, and I hear these stories from families that they don't get notified, that they don't get information from the sheriff's department. You say the detectives contacted you working on the case, but no one from the jail itself.
No.
Have they contacted you yet?
No.
Nothing.
Nothing.
So if you were relying on the jail to notify you on the sheriff's department, jail personnel, you'd be waiting still.
Yeah, pretty much. I'd be waiting.
Wow, that's crazy. This is, of course, 2 months later. So we'll talk about how you're working with Dignity and Power now. We'll talk about how people can support you in your quest for justice, or at least answers. What does justice really look like? We can't bring back your child. And we'll take a look at the state of things where we are now. We're hearing that young people are being moved to a new juvenile facility. And how does that look in the big picture of our carceral system here in Southern California? All that's straight ahead on KBLA Talk 1580.
More of First Things First with Dominique DePrima when we come forward. KBLA Talk 1580. We've got a lot to talk about.
Maisha Cairo here for KBLA Talk 1580. We're live in Los Angeles at JP Morgan Chase's Advancing Black Wealth Tour. And I'm speaking to some of the attendees today to see why it was so important for them to be here.
Yeah, this is Lathan and Tyler. Main reason that's very important for me to be here is just to leave a legacy for my kids. Black wealth, generational wealth is what we need in our community, Oh, Chase, someone has to take the lead. They're showing, big business like Chase cares, and, they're putting their money where their mouth is at, So it's good to see, big institution like Chase, giving a lifting hand, to the community. And, you got to respect that. It makes me want to bank with Chase and, give them, another look if I go to another institution. I actually see what Chase is doing for the community.
That's right. Chase is doing their part to help advance Black wealth. For more money support, tune in every day from 12 to 2 to KBLA Talk 1580's Midday Money Chain, right here.
If this were a Reese's TV ad, you'd be staring at a Reese's peanut butter cup. And sure, my voice is peanut buttery smooth, but still, you need to see the peanut butter cups, right? No? I can really just say Reese's and you'll go get some? Okay. Reese's. 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 Really working, actually. Reese's. Reese's. I'm on to something. Reese's. Reese's. Reese's.
We've got a lot to talk about.
Are you interested in catching up on all the latest entertainment news, trending topics, and exciting interviews? I got you. Tune in to The Raw Report with Robin Ayers, Monday through Friday, 6 to 7 p.m. I'm your host, Robin Ayers. Join me every weekday with some of the best entertainment contributors in the business as we break down what's going on, who's got next, and what not to miss. Only on The Raw Report with Robin Ayers.
Unapologetically progressive. KBLA Talk 1580. We've got your black.
Want my secret for how to prep for summer getaways and get-togethers and get everything for less? Kohl's. I just went shopping and saved big on sunny day essentials like tees, tank tops, shorts, capris, swimwear, and beach towels. Because for every one I bought, I was able to get a second for only $1. Plus, I earned Kohl's Cash. So head to Kohl's and find the top styles for the lowest prices. You'll thank me later. Select styles. Offers end July 13th. Some exclusions apply. See store or Kohl's.com for details.
Your ancestors' favorite radio station, and your favorite morning show host. Let's get back to Dominique DePrima right now.
Right now, incarceration and how we in the city, county of Los Angeles deal with rehabilitation, or what we call care first, which means care first, cops last, incarceration last, is part of what is always in the conversation around here. And Janet Asante from Dignity and Power Now is joining us in the studio. If you want to check in on YouTube. Also, we're being joined by Tennel Crook, who's the mother of Kamren Lee Nettles, just 19 years old. So really, what more or less could have been in a juvenile facility, but is in men's central jail, or was. And you have your whole tribute to him. You got your green nails. I guess you said he was a Seattle Seahawks fan.
Yeah.
What else should we know about Kamren?
He was real sweet. He was a sweet kid, real humble, quiet. He loved football.
Yeah. And, I mean, you said you haven't heard from the jail still. You've heard from the detectives. What do you think happened? I mean, how did he end up there? Do you have a theory? Are you getting stuff from the community? I know it's hard when you're getting stonewalled by authorities because they're the ones that have all the videotapes, surveillance, and reports and such.
Yeah, well, first of all, he was there because he was present when his friend had got killed. So he was charged with his friend murder. That's why he was in jail. But he didn't kill his friend. And I don't know what happened to my baby. I just been waiting for the answers. You hear this, you hear that, but I said I wasn't going to listen to stuff like that. I was just going to listen to the truth when the truth came out to what caused my baby death.
Yeah. I mean, I'm sure that takes a tremendous amount of strength, but it sounds like the right thing to do.
Yeah, because if I was to listen to everything I hear, I probably would be crazy.
Yeah.
So to keep my sanity, I just hold tight, stay strong for the truth.
Now, from your perspective, what would be helpful coming from the community?
Closing Men's Central Jail.
Yeah.
Because I think it's time. A lot of stuff goes on there, don't even make it to the news that a lot of people don't even know about. It's a lot of stuff I didn't even know about till, this happened to my son. I was unaware of the things that goes on there. But I think that place need to be closed down. It's not safe. They're not protecting the people. It's not clean. It's terrible there. I remember one time my son said the cell flooded. And I'm like, flooded? He said, yeah, the water came from the top into the cells to where, it messed up their pictures, their personal property. And I was like, who cleaned it up? He was like, we had to. I was like, oh, wow. And it was another time he was there. He was like, it was a rat trying to come through the hole.
Wow.
And it was, it was another time too. He was in the end of the row. He didn't get his food. Thank God, he always had commissary, so he had something to eat. But they just forgot about them at the end. They didn't get a chance to eat. Yes, it's not a good place. It's not a safe place either.
So, Janet, talk to me about the quest to close Men's Central Jail, because these are the things that we hear, but are any of our jails clean, good, well-maintained facilities?
No, and despite the millions and billions of dollars that continue to be allocated to the Sheriff's Department, which oversees the jails, we'll never see those improvements because they don't prioritize our community members at all. And as far as the quest to close Men's Central Jail, the county has several plans that detail and outline how to safely do so. Men's Central Jail obviously is notorious for not only the abuses that Kamren experienced, but also, sheriff deputy gangs, and a number of corruption that has been brought to the Office of the Inspector General and the Civilian Oversight Commission. But I think the premier report would be the Men's Central Jail Closure Report, which came out in March 30th of 2021, which outlined how to close MCJ in the span of 2 years, so 18 to 24 months.
Yeah, I mean, but I've seen those reports. They're always controversial. The Board of Supervisors doesn't agree on it. The last time a plan to close the jail was brought forth, I think it was Hilda Solis, and that was shut down before they even voted on it as being not realistic. So I guess what I'm cramming to understand here as progressive, as community activists, something's missing here. Because number one, what do you do with all those folks when you take them out? Do we have the beds? No, we don't. Do we have the mental health beds? When you talk about care first, there has to be care infrastructure in place. Is it there?
I think when you talk about care first, you have to look at the budget, because while all of the Board of Supervisors have agreed the Men's Central Jail should close,
right,
and they all, say care first, when you look at the budget that was actually approved just a couple of weeks ago, it's not care first. I mean, 70% of the discretionary funding, which is not tied to any specific department, went towards, probation and law enforcement. We're talking about billions of dollars that is going towards these problematic departments, and is not going towards things like mental health care workers. I mean, a lot of these officers are making upwards of $100,000, $200,000 in overtime alone. So when we look at care first, is that money going towards incarcerating and caging our community members, or is it going towards, mental health care? When we see that half the population in jail is pretrial, so that means that they, can't afford bail, they're legally innocent. These are the consequences of a lack of investment, and not because the jail problem is too hard. And I think that's what you'll see in the reports. While they have existed for a long time, and they are, quote unquote controversial for some, ultimately, if those allocations were even made just even a little bit, we would see such a difference, because they are evidence-based. If we look at the Alternatives to Incarceration Workgroup report, for example, which outlines, in 3 to 6 months, we should have this many pretrial beds online. And so on and so forth. We haven't even started to bring those things online, which would alleviate the issues going on in Men's Central Jail.
Right, and I understand that. I mean, I think in theory, most people will say, yeah, close Men's Central Jail, but the issue is, how do you do it? So we can sit here and say that wasn't a care first budget, and talk about how the Sheriff's Department is always begging for more and more of the public money, our taxpayer dollars. Even, with the case at the Winco, where, the sheriff was, they were beating up on an innocent, regular lady who was just trying to videotape her friend being arrested. Sheriff Luna says, well, one of the reasons this happened is because the sheriff's deputies are tired because we don't have enough of them, and therefore the answer is more money. I don't care how tired I am. I'm not just going to take some random lady and throw her on the ground and pepper spray her face, and I don't think any of us can get away with that, nor should we. But at the same time, what you're talking about takes a long time. Okay, let's say we change the budget tomorrow and start building facilities. Those people that are sitting in jail in Men's Central Jail right now, they're going to be out or dead or gone or something by the time that change happens. Like, how do you quickly make the change in a way that's responsible, in a way that, is doable?
Exactly. I think the words that you use are perfect: responsible, doable, urgent. And I think that's why, as a coalition with Justice LA, we have restarted the clock, right? So the Men's Central Jail Closure Report outlines step by step how to do these things safely. Namely, pretrial services would go a very, very much a long way. There are people who just need housing, who just need, mental health care. Our jails are the largest mental health care facilities that we have, which is a shame. There are things that need to be brought online, and that's going to require a truly care first budget. So in order to safely close Men's Central Jail, we need all of these other things online first. So, I think you're right. It would be unrealistic to close Men's Central Jail tomorrow. And that's why we will continue, budget cycle after budget cycle to truly ask for these allocations, because otherwise, 5 years, 10 years later, we're going to continue to see the same problems. I mean, we're on track to have a record number of deaths in our custody. So how many people is it going to take to die?
And of course, none of the stuff we're talking about helps Kamren Lee.
No, but it probably could help someone in the future, or it probably could stop it from happening.
Yeah.
I think, like, a lot of those police officers need to be held accountable for the things that they do. Like the lady from Winco, like, he need to be held responsible for what he did to the lady. Like, I just don't understand, like, when the cops do something and, okay, they suspended with paid leave. Like, are you serious?
Yeah, I don't understand that either. There's no other job in the world where you can act up like that and just expect to be paid while they figure out, while we await disciplinary action or trial or an investigation. I can't think of any other job.
Yeah, it's sad. It's real sad. It breaks my heart, like, my son being in a situation that he was in, and I wasn't able to, like, because he always been my protector, and I was always his protector. So it just came to a time, like, we really couldn't protect one another. But I feel like the county jail and the police officers, the deputies that's in there, need to really be held responsible for their wrongdoing.
Yeah. Tennel Crook is the mother of Kamren Lee. Janet Asante is communications with Dignity and Power. Now continuing the conversation after news, traffic, and sports on KBLA Talk 1580.
She's reclaiming her time on KBLA Talk 1580. More First Things First with Dominic DePrima when we come forward.
Thank you for joining us. I'm Mike Moore. Here's the latest from the Black Information Network. National Security Council spokesperson John Kirby says sending cluster bombs to Ukraine is about keeping the country in the fight against Russia. Kirby said on ABC's This Week the Biden administration is mindful of the potential for civilian casualties caused by the cluster munitions. He added that Russian forces pose a greater risk to Ukrainian civilians and children. Kirby said Russia has already been using cluster bombs in the war. In Missouri, a Democratic state lawmaker from St. Louis has announced she's running for the U.S. Senate in 2024. African-American State Senator Carla May announced her campaign Saturday night. May has spent 5 years in the state Senate and was a House lawmaker for 8 years before that. And that's the latest. I'm Mike Moore from your 24/7 news source, the Black Information Network and BINnews.com.
Need an accident attorney by your side? All you got to do is call the Accident Guys.
Injured in a car accident or at work? The Accident Guys can come to you almost anywhere, so you don't have to come to us. Se habla español.
This is the KBLA Sports Minute with Ray Richardson.
The Dodgers take a 4-game winning streak into the All-Star break. They're back in first place in the NL West for the first time since June 5th. They lead Arizona by a half game. Major League Baseball's All-Star game is Tuesday night in Seattle. Dodgers right fielder Mookie Betts is competing in today's home run derby. The competition begins at 5 p.m. The All-Star weekend actually kicked off on Friday in Seattle with the new Swingman Classic, an All-Star game for HBCU players. The Swingman Classic was created by Hall of Famer Ken Griffey Jr. 50 players from 28 HBCUs played in the Classic, which is designed to give more exposure for black college players who want to play in the major leagues. Griffey plans to make the Swingman Classic an annual event during All-Star Weekend. No debates, no speculation, just the info you need. That's your KBLA Sports Minute. I'm Ray Richardson. More news, opinions, and conversation when we come forward on KBLA Talk 1580.
Have you heard about Lendustry? Lendistry is a national Black-led small business lender that is headquartered right here in LA. Once you've started your business, Lendistry provides flexible financing options starting at $50,000 to help you access the affordable capital needed to grow. Whether financing is needed to increase working capital, acquire a business, purchase inventory and equipment, or refinance debt, Lendistry has a solution for you. Lending products range from traditional business term loans and non-revolving lines of credit to SBA 7A loans and commercial real estate financing. Lendistry's pre-application process is simple and does not impact your credit score. Visit lendistry.com/KBLA to learn more and to get started with an application right from the website.
Follow the leader. KBLA Talk 1580. Follow the leader.
If you're not following KBLA Talk 1580 on all of our socials, then you're missing out. Download our app and find us on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, YouTube, and on the web at KBLA 1580.
That's right.
Again, you can find all of our socials at KBLA 1580.
We've got a lot to talk about.
By the way, if you miss any of our weekday shows in real time, you can always catch up by checking out the podcast of your favorite shows at your leisure. At KBLA Talk 1580, we've got your black.
Got your black. Follow the leader. Follow the leader. Oh my God. Follow the leader. Follow the leader. Follow the leader. Follow the leader.
The Los Angeles Urban League helps African American and others in underserved communities achieve true social parity, economic self-reliance, and civil rights. For over 100 years, Los Angeles Urban League has ensured our communities have access to careers with living wages, opportunities to start and grow businesses, and clear pathways to personal and professional growth. Programs like BizCamp, Construction Career Academy, Bob Business Ready, and B-Warp. The Black Wealth Attainment and Retention Program are examples of the ongoing events designed to make our centennial mission to rebuild Black Wall Street right here in LA a reality. To sign up for our newsletter or to support the Los Angeles Urban League with your time, talent, and donations, visit laul.org. That's laul.org. The Los Angeles Urban League is a proud sponsor of Urban Family Focus, Saturdays at 7 a.m. on KBLA Talk 1580.
Thanks for waking up with Dominique DePrima on KBLA Talk 1580.
Yeah, I appreciate you as always. Janet Asante is with me. She's doing media and communications for the group Dignity and Power Now and Justice LA Coalition, of which Dignity Power Now is a member. Tennel Crook is here. She's the mother of Kamren Lee, who died, was killed, was found unresponsive, is what they said, right? Correct. Inside Men's Central Jail just a couple months ago.
Yes.
Yeah. I got to say, you're amazing. The fact that you can even be, out and doing activism around this is.
Yeah, I do anything for Kamren. Like, I feel like I have to be his voice. So, like, I just have to put, like, my grieving to the side and do whatever I could to get his name out, and stuff like that, and meet other families and do different things. But I have to be strong and keep my mind right. So I'm doing it all for him.
Yeah, it makes sense. It still don't make it easy, I'm sure.
Yeah, I have hard days. I have good days. It's just the process that I have to go through. But at the end of the day, like, I do it all for him. Because I need answers. I want answers. Like, I have an attorney. My attorney had requested my son's autopsy to be recorded. It didn't get recorded. So it's like a lot of things in the case, like, that's kind of fishy, not right. But like I say, I just wait till I have, the proof and the correct answers of what caused my son's death. Because I want to know. Because I feel like I'm not going to rest till I know, like, what happened to my baby. But I'm doing everything for him.
So we had someone call in, and this I think is relevant because I feel like when people die in custody in particular, but anytime police or law enforcement kill someone, the kind of methodology, what happens next is talking bad about the victim to make it seem like they deserved it or that somehow they were responsible for their own death. So our caller wants to know if your son was in a gang module or had gang files.
No, I don't. He was in, was it 33, 3200? They say that's the deputy gang module, so I don't know.
Yeah, 3300. That's the name of one of the
3,000 boys.
3,000 boys, yeah. One of the.
Yeah.
So it's a gang module, but the gang is the sheriffs.
Yeah, that's what they say. I don't know.
Well, let's talk about that for a second. You know, the current sheriff, Sheriff Luna, acknowledges that deputy gangs exist, which we could consider that progress, I guess, and claims that he's putting together this unit to eradicate those from the system. What are you tracking?
I think, anytime someone brings up Sheriff Luna, I think it's pretty obvious to say that it's a more realistic person than Alex Villanueva was. However, acknowledging is one thing. I think solutions are another. There's so much distrust. There's so much harm that has been caused. So I think when it comes to anything related to Luna or the Sheriff's Department, what kind of investments are being made in the community that's being harmed first and foremost. I personally, and I know the coalition is not interested in seeing even more funding go towards such a troubled department. If anything, the trouble should be an indication that we scale back, this investment towards a department that has these deputy gangs. When we look at, for example, the lawsuit that was brought forth, although Luna did ask these 35 deputies who were identified to have these gang tattoos by the OIG, Max Huntsman, the Office of the Inspector General, they refused to comply. Their police association is now in court. And in the hearing that happened 2 weeks ago, they refused to even come in for an interview, to even show their tattoos, to even begin the process of, the accountability that people like Tennel and other family members want so badly, and have wanted so badly for decades. So, I think that's really what we're tracking is accountability and some kind of reparation, some kind of community investment towards these communities who have known about deputy gangs. And although Luna is the first sheriff to actually acknowledge them, there's so much community harm that has been done.
Yeah, I mean, a couple things about that. First of all, when you refer to investment, you're talking about Luna's request for more money so he could start a task force to end deputy gangs. And yeah, I understand the idea of it. You need folks to focus on that. But at the same time, it's like, if you have criminals in your midst and you're telling me you need more money to get rid of those criminals, you can't just go, you, and you out. Like in any other job. I understand it's a public agency, but, I'm pretty sure if there were mayor's office gangs, they would be fired. They could just be fired.
Mm-hmm. Or any other job.
And that's where we run into the trouble with the police associations.
Absolutely.
So-called unions, which I call cartels, because I'm in a union and I guarantee you if I murder someone, they're not going to cover it up for me. They will help me get better wages, working hours, but they're not going to be accessories to my crimes. That's not included in my understanding of what a union is. How do you account for that? We can sit here and say, oh, this is all bad, but how do we make progress?
I think the real progress should come from the community-based reports, the evidence-based reports, all of the things that we already know work, and not these, experimental throw money at the sheriff's department initiatives. I think one of the key takeaways from the Board of Supervisors budget hearing just a few weeks ago was, Holly Mitchell was the sole supervisor who really questioned the additional funding for these extra captains that are supposed to be deployed to eradicate deputy gangs, because they have no actual plan to eradicate deputy gangs. They have not presented one to the board. So, we're putting the cart before the horse by giving them even more funding with no plan, when we know that, the things that actually keep our community safe are, mental health care, things like housing, things that will truly take care of us and not just put more money in the pockets of these people. So, ultimately, I think Holly Mitchell was right. It's the cart before the horse. We know these police associations and these deputy gangs will continue to operate with, the level of impunity and funding that they always have.
Look, so the second part of this question, and I don't even know if it's actually a question, but if my boss says to me, I'll equate it to radio. If I get on the radio and say N-word, 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 like a couple of talk radio hosts have done and lost their jobs, right? Dr. Laura, great example. She said N-word, N-word, N-word. Yeah, she has free speech. She has freedom of speech. But her employer can make work requirements. Mm-hmm. You have freedom of movement. But if you come to work an hour late every day, your job can fire you because you're not complying with your agreement, right? If I say N-word, N-word, yeah, I can say, well, it's free speech, woohoo. If I say compound mother words, but Tavis can fire me tomorrow because that's not our agreement. Mm-hmm. How can law enforcement, who are supposed to be protecting and serving, refuse to comply with orders of the court, orders of law enforcement, i.e. their boss, concerning a clear violation of the policy of the agency that they work for? You're not allowed to be in a criminal organization. You can call them cliques, you can call them clubs, you can call them whatever you want to, but that's not part of what you're allowed to do. So how can you just say, nope, not going to show you if I have a tattoo?
Well, I think first and foremost, sheriff's deputies individually oftentimes believe that they are above the law. There's all sorts of policies that they are not following. The sheriff's department and the county itself are facing 3 different lawsuits, I think, at this point, and at least 1 consent decree. So, this is a department that is refusing to punish deputies for head strikes, which have been, against policy for quite some time now. This is a court case that has been going on for years, and they continue to refuse to bring their officers into compliance with their own internal policies, let alone ones that come from, the community or oversight commissions. So, we can say it's, unique to the LA Sheriff's Department, but I think when we look more broadly at, the state or the nation, these officers all have the same policy, which is that there is no policy. They get away with whatever they want to do.
Yeah, I guess it's the old Western movie policy, I am the law, which is not a modern nor humanitarian model of law enforcement. When we come forward, I want to talk about action. What's the call to action? I think it's important to talk about the objective conditions, what we're up against, what the reality on the ground is, but people want to know about solutions. We'll look at that when we come forward. KBLA Talk 1580.
Say the quiet part out loud. KBLA Talk 1580.
The family of Keenan Anderson is suing the city of Los Angeles for $100 million. Maisha Cairo here with your K-Black Minute News, brought to you by CaliforniaBlackMedia.org. Keenan Anderson, a high school English teacher that was visiting Los Angeles from Washington, D.C., was tragically killed at the hands of the Los Angeles Police Department in January of this year. His family, alongside civil rights and personal injury attorney Benjamin Crump and Carl Douglas, have announced a $100 million lawsuit against the city of Los Angeles. Crump and Douglas are representing Keenan Anderson's son, Sincere Anderson, and his mother, Gabrielle Hansel. The family is suing for civil rights violations, assault and battery, false imprisonment, and negligence on the part of the LAPD officers. The family of Keenan Anderson and attorneys Crump and Douglas want it to be known that this is only part of a systemic issue within the fabric of police departments everywhere.
Black Lives Matters turns 10, and KBLA Talk 1580 is proud to be the exclusive media partner of the People's Justice Festival. This Saturday, July 15th, 12 to 6 p.m. in Leimert Park. Come join us as we celebrate the life-saving and history-making work of Black Lives Matter to help bend the arc of the moral universe toward justice. There will be live music performances, a children's village, giveaways, vendors, a healing justice space, Skillshare, and amazing speakers including Green Party presidential candidate Dr. Cornel West, live on stage at 4:30 p.m. For more information, go to blmgrassroots.org. That's www.blmgrassroots.org. Dominique DePrima and Tavis Smiley will be main stage hosts throughout the day, and the KBLA Talk 1580 delegation will be out in full force. So, join us this Saturday, July 15th, 12 to 6 p.m. at Leimert Park as we celebrate the 10th anniversary of Black Lives Matter. This is a community call to action from KBLA Talk 1580. This is KBLA Talk 1580, where hate loses and love wins.
And we are talking about our carceral system here in Southern California. Janet Asante is with me. She's doing media and comms for Dignity and Power Now and the Justice LA Coalition. And we're also being joined by Tennel Crook, the mom of Kamren Lee, fighting for justice, for answers for her son, who was found unresponsive in Men's Central Jail, May 13th, 2023. You keep saying you don't understand. What do you mean by that?
Like, I don't understand, like, how cops does things and not be held accountable. Like, why is it so hard for them to be held accountable for they wrongdoing or not doing their job?
Yeah. Well, it happens over and over again.
Yeah, exactly. So I'm just at the point, like, when is it going to stop? When is this going to start being consequences behind them, not doing a job or doing something they have no business doing? I don't understand, like, why it takes so long for them to be held accountable. Why is it so hard for them to be held accountable? Like, as far as my son, they do checks every 30 minutes, which I'm told, every 30 minutes to cells for the inmates. And from my understanding, they don't do their checks. So up to this day, I'm thinking maybe my son could have been saved if they was doing their checks on time. From the time that someone had stopped talking to my son, it should have been 8 checks.
Wow.
And they didn't go into my son's cell to 2:14 a.m. So someone was talking to him up to 10 o'clock. Then they said he just stopped talking. And I was just thinking, like, if they was doing their checks, maybe whatever happened to my son, he could have been saved or something. But then no one going to cell till like 2:14. And then I don't like to say bad things about people if I don't have facts. But they already kind of gave me like a couple of red flags, so it's like I can't believe nothing they say.
Do you want to give me an example of a red flag?
Well, they said that someone asked a deputy, what made you go in his cell? And the deputy said he was laying on the bed, the metal. He was in a 2-man cell, but he was in there by himself. So he was laying on the metal, and the mattress was at the top when he did his first check, when he went around. Then he went around again, and he seen my son like that. And then I guess it didn't dawn on him till later, like, something probably not right. So he passed by him one time already and seen the position my son was in. He didn't think nothing of it. And then the second time when he did his round, that's when he went in. And then the autopsy was supposed to be recorded. They didn't record it. They said they found some substance in my son's cell, which the detective told me myself. It was tested, and it wasn't no drugs. So I'm like, at this point, I can't believe nothing they say.
Sorry.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm really sorry. Coming back with our call to action when we come forward on KBLA Talk 1580.
KBLA Talk 1580 is an intervention. When we come forward, includes you. KBLA Talk 1580, turning pain into power.
Some people won't give you the real talk on drugs, but it's time we know the facts. Fentanyl is killing people. It's a powerful opioid, often made illegally and commonly mixed with illicit drugs. It can even be pressed into counterfeit pills that resemble prescription medications. Just 2 milligrams, about the size of a few grains of sand, could potentially be lethal. This isn't an ad to scare you, but it is an ad to make you think twice. Get the facts. Go to realdealonfentanyl.com. This message is brought to you by the Ad Council.
KBLA Talk 1580. We've got a lot to talk about.
Tired of being locked out of job opportunities and shut down by systemic racism? KBLA stands with you in fighting for the rights of black workers, and we don't black down. The Los Angeles Black Workers Center is a dynamic alliance of workers, organized labor, community-based organizations, clergy, students, and scholars, working collectively to improve the position of the black working class. The LA Black Workers Center takes a comprehensive approach to addressing the black jobs crisis. Their programs promote access to quality jobs, racial equity in hiring and retention, discrimination-free job sites, and they prepare black workers for employment in high-wage, career-track jobs. The Black Workers Center supports workers who need help protecting their rights on the job. They give workers access to quality jobs and remove systemic barriers to employment. To sign up for free career readiness training, get involved in organizing around anti-discrimination, learn about union apprenticeship programs, or sign on to a trade registry, please visit www.lablackworkerscenter.org. That's lablackworkerscenter.org. Together, we can beat the black jobs crisis. This is a community call to action from KBLA Talk 1580.
Hey, Dad, how do airplanes fly? What's in this box? Is this tree good for climbing? How are babies made? What does this thing do?
Kids are curious about everything, including guns. Talking to them about gun safety in your home is a good first step, but you can do more. Always keep your guns locked, unloaded, and stored separately from ammunition. Safe gun storage saves lives. Learn how to make your home safer at endfamilyfire.org. That's endfamilyfire.org. Brought to you by End Family Fire, Brady, and the Ad Council.
Find a righteous rage, and don't be afraid to say what you see. We're KBLA Talk 1580.
All right. Someone reaching out to me, letting me know that, and I've heard this from others too, just the conditions inside the men's central jail are horrific, but it has become a symbol, right, for the overall system. So it's not just the jail, it's our carceral system. That's what Care First was meant to address. So what's the call to action, Janet Asante, at this point?
Yeah, I mean, there's basically 2 calls to action, right? One is for our public officials, and that is to actually fund Care First, to make those investments in what the community needs that will not only prevent incarceration in the first place, but help get care towards those who need it, who are already incarcerated. So that's one. And then for, everyone who may just be on the line, help us hold those elected officials accountable and help us stand with families like Tennel Crook, like Helen Jones, like so many others who have faced the brutality from the sheriff's department and from our carceral systems, we will be holding a rally in the first or second week of August. But you can follow Justice LA Now on Instagram and Twitter to keep up to date on future actions that will be held. You can also follow Dignity and Power Now on Instagram and @Power Dignity on Twitter to stay involved in, supporting families and supporting our communities and just general awareness of what's going on in our county.
Yeah, I think the general awareness piece is important. Accountability, even though we don't always know what's going on. Los Padrinos juvenile facility is supposed to be reopening in Downey, right? Where they've moved children from the juvenile system there to get them out of other facilities that have been ruled unfit. How do you feel about that?
I mean, first and foremost, as an abolitionist, I think anytime we criminalize children, there's something wrong there. Every child just needs resources, just needs care, just needs access. So when we spend millions and billions of dollars on cages for children, I think we're already headed in the wrong direction. So, I mean, that's what I believe, and I think the evidence shows that too.
Yeah. Another show for another day, because the time flies when you're in here.
Always.
Giving you the last word, Tennel Crook. What do you want people to know? What's your call to action?
That the cops need to be held accountable. People need to start voting too, because it has a lot to do with how we end up and what we have to deal with. I think that's important, of more people voting and more people participating to change laws to, like, what's the place that we go to?
The Board of Supervisors.
Yeah, to come out to the Board of Supervisors. It's very interesting and speak.
Right, because the jails are run by the county, and that's supervised by the Board of Supervisors. Well, I thank you both for coming in and raising folks' awareness, raising a call to action. And I want to say rest in peace to Kamren Lee.
Thank you.
Kamren
Rest
Lee.
in peace, Kamren Lee Nettles.
Yeah, Kamren Lee Nettles. Say his name. We are we're in open for business. Call us 800-920-1580. I want to hear your thoughts, your solutions, whatever you want to vent about. That's what we're here for. It's KBLA Talk 1580.
KBLA 1580 Santa Monica.
Thank you for joining us. I'm Mike Moore. Here's the latest from the Black Information Network. National Security Council spokesperson John